Hey guys, it's your favorite loctician, Casey. I hope that you guys are all keeping safe, staying in the house, taking care of yourselves and your health. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about something that quite a number of my clients have asked me about, the difference between retouching your dreadlocks with the interlocking method and between retwisting them with wax or a locking gel. Just a bit of a disclaimer. I have tried to wait for a time when kids will be in the house so that I don't have any background noises, but clearly that's impossible nowadays because they're home all day and are playing outside the whole time. So just in case you hear kids in the background, please forgive me, just bear with me and try to listen to my voice instead, yeah? Okay. So for those of you who are wondering what I mean when I say interlocking, worry not. Interlocking is basically a technique that we use for dreadlocks nowadays, whereby instead of using wax to maybe retwist your hair or to start your dreadlocks, we instead use a tool which is called a crochet. I'm sure most of you have seen a crochet. We all grew up with our mothers knitting sweaters and stuff, but the difference is for hair we don't use a crochet that big. We use something more or less like this. I hope you can see it. Yeah, so the crochets come in different sizes and different builds, I guess, should I say designs. So different locticians will have different types of crochets, so there's no specific type that works. And everybody has a certain size that they like to use, but basically what I'm saying is they're not the big ones which are being used to knit sweaters, because I mean we need to work with hair strands now, not like big strings for sweaters. So yeah, with interlocking, we just use a crochet hook to sort of intertwine the strands of your hair and form something like a dreadlock. So traditionally, the most common way to start a fresh set of locks has been to use a sort of dreadlocks wax or a locking gel. And how this happens is your loctician would basically part your hair into sections depending on the size of dreadlocks you want, and would basically use this gel or wax to twist together strands of your hair and form a dreadlock. So this would be done so that the hair can sort of be held together for a certain time until it mats and forms a dreadlock. However, nowadays different techniques have come out here. People are always inventing things as time goes, and so that's how interlocking, I guess, was formed, and it's sort of a faster way, I could say, of starting dreadlocks. So in this case, instead of having to use the gel or wax, someone would basically part your hair into sections again, depending on the size of dreadlocks you want, and would then use the crochet hook to sort of interlock your hair. And basically, it's like intertwine strands together so as to form an instant dreadlock. So by the time you're out of the salon, you already have dreadlocks that sort of look mature and don't have to wait too long for the whole matting stage. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that there's a technique that's better than another one. For me, I think it's all about preference, honestly. Some people would prefer to start the wax way, and some people would prefer to start with a crochet hook. So it's basically about you and your patience and how much time you think you want to take before you have fully matured locks. So I mean, it's always up to you. So when it comes to retouching dreadlocks, let me stress this. If you have temporary dreadlocks which you feel you do not want to keep forever and you want to remove at some point, I will strongly recommend that you use the interlocking method only. Stick to interlocking, because that way we're sure that after a certain period of time, the dreadlocks can be removed. So if you have temporary locks, please just use the interlocking method. However, for people who have permanent dreadlocks, you can choose to use whichever method. So even if you started your dreadlocks with wax, you could always switch to retouching with the interlocking method. And also, if you started your dreadlocks with the interlocking method, you could always choose to switch to wax at some point. I've actually had people, friends who've used both methods. Actually, personally, I use both methods. So sometimes I use wax when retouching my hair, a locking gel, just for the sake of it. Honestly, I don't have a reason why I use wax, but I do. Oh wait, but actually I do it because, okay, so when doing my own hair, it's faster for me when I use a locking gel. So if to maybe have a function soon, but this is for me because I do this by myself. So if I have a function and I barely have time to like make my hair and look good, then I'd use the wax method to retouch my hair. But on a day when I know I have quite a lot of time, like maybe a whole free day, I'll probably opt for the interlocking method. But the reason why I strongly love the interlocking method is because I'm a very active person. I love to go to the gym a lot. I love to run. I love to play soccer, which means I'm going to sweat a lot. Many times I'm just going to be doing things that involve a lot of activity, and so I'll end up sweating. So when you use the interlocking method, you can wash your hair basically whenever, because with the wax method, when you wash your hair, the wax is definitely going to get off and the dreadlocks will unravel, and then you'll end up looking like somebody who hasn't retouched their hair. So when you're using wax, you can't just wash your hair anytime. Usually you'll probably go maybe 2 weeks before your first wash, or even longer. Some people just go to the salon once a month, get their wax done, and then wash their hair again when they go back to the salon the next month. However, with the interlocking method, you could go to the salon today for a retouch and you could wash your hair tomorrow and you'll still look fine, So the main reason why I use the interlocking method is because of my active lifestyle. However, sometimes I use, a locking gel instead, because I don't have enough time for the interlocking method. I'm not saying that you should only use wax when you have a little bit of time. No, all I'm saying is I'm basically giving you guys the reason why I use both methods. But honestly, in the end, the look is basically the same. Some people say that the interlocking method will make your hair thin out, or it's going to make your hair bumpy. It hasn't worked like that for me. The interlocking method has been great. Actually, I have a number of friends who've been using the interlocking method for quite some years, and they've never had a problem with dreadlocks breaking off at some point, or their hair thinning. My own mom actually uses the interlocking method and it works really well for her. Meanwhile, I have people who use the wax method, and their dreadlocks are very, very healthy at the same time. As long as you do not retouch your hair too frequently, you're fine to go. Some people want to go to the salon every 2 weeks. I do not recommend that, but anyway, at the end of the day, your hair, how it works best, but over twisting the hair is what makes it begin to thin. So you could use wax, and if you're doing it every second, like every 2 weeks or every week, then that is definitely not advisable. I usually recommend go for a period of at least 4 to 6 weeks before your retouch. You could go longer. I have people who go for 2 months, 3 months without a retouch, and that's totally fine. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's about preference and what you think works best for you as the person with dreadlocks. So yeah, let me just do a quick recap for you. If you have temporary dreadlocks, please use the interlocking method only. Now, for permanent dreadlocks, if you're somebody who does your own hair and you never really have a lot of time, I'd suggest that you use the wax or locking gel method instead of the interlocking method. If you're the kind of person who likes to go to the salon maybe every 3 weeks because you always want your hair to look super neat at all times, I'd suggest that you use wax to retwist instead, because that way in 3 weeks it's possible for you to do a retwist. If you're the kind of person who is very sporty or outdoorsy or does a lot of things that involve sweating, then I'd recommend that you use the interlocking method, because that way you can wash your hair at whatever time you want. Also, if you're the kind of person who doesn't like to retouch their hair very frequently, you'd like to go maybe 3 months, I'd suggest that you do the interlocking method as well, because then you can wash your hair whenever and move on with life. That's it from me, guys. Now you know 1 or 2 things about the 2 different methods of retwisting your dreadlocks or starting your dreadlocks. And if you have any more questions, just feel free to ask me. It's just that many of my clients have been asking me if there's a preferred method, and like I say, there's no preferred method. It's all about you and the kind of lifestyle that you lead, and how you take care of your dreadlocks. So you could always ask for an opinion from your loctician, and I'm sure they'd be able to advise you depending on your day-to-day activities, or the kind of look that you desire for your dreadlocks. Anyway, kama kawaida, thank you guys for spending some time to watch my video. Please do not forget to like it, leave me a comment down below, share the video among all your networks, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Kama kawaida, don't forget, locks rock.